Yo, what's going on YouTube? This is Zach with IT Career Questions. I'm really excited for today's interview because we have Alexis over here from HackerSploit, which is a big YouTube channel that covers ethical hacking, pen testing, many topics related to cybersecurity. So I'm really excited to have him on. I'm going to bring him over here, and he's going to tell us a little bit about himself, how he got started in IT, how he got started with HackerSploit. So welcome, sir. I appreciate you coming on with us.
Thank you very much for having me on. I'm glad to be here, and let's get started.
All right, so yeah, if you could tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started in IT and how did you evolve over to cybersecurity?
So I actually started off my career as a Linux system administrator, so essentially working with servers, deploying servers, and sort of managing various databases for companies for various web applications. And that sort of it piqued my interest when talking about security, because that was one aspect that I needed to essentially take care of. So I started getting interested in security, and that also introduced me to the whole world of hacking and penetration testing, really. So that's that's where I started from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What piqued your interest to even get involved in IT? Where did that come from?
This began when I was in high school. So, of course, one of the unique things that I went through with high school is one of my first computers came pre-installed with Linux. So that my first experience, my first proper experience with an operating system was with Linux. So at the time, I just went with it, and I sort of learned all the Linux commands, and I sort of understood what was going on with Linux, and that's what gave me that type of experience. And so while I was in high school, I also got introduced again when I was looking around for security. I found the hacker community, and I joined a few forums. And there was at that time the operating system of choice for hacking was Backtrack, and so I got that installed, and I just started working with the tools, and that was sort of my first introduction to hacking.
Yeah, so you mentioned Backtrack there. So how long have you been in the IT field?
I've been in the IT field for about 7 years now.
7 years. Awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
Awesome. So, if my viewers are unfamiliar with you and unfamiliar with HackerSploit, could you give us a little bit of information on, why did you start HackerSploit? Because I find it really interesting what you're doing over there, and you're providing a huge service to inform people on pen testing and ethical hacking and things like that. So, how did that all get started?
The origin stories aren't as glamorous as what has become today. So it essentially started off in when I was in college, and I was in a few computer science classes, and there were a few concepts that some of my friends or peers weren't understanding, and they used to usually just call me and have me explain it for them, or we used to have meetings and stuff like that. So one day there was a complex programming project that we're working on, and one of my friends asked me to sort of record a video showing him how to do it, and I did that, and he said, "Yeah, this is pretty good." I essentially understood everything there, and he then told me you should upload your videos to YouTube. So that's where the whole idea came up from, and then I just started uploading videos on YouTube, and it just grew from there.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
What types of, obviously I'm going to throw a link to your channel in the description and everything, but what other types of things can people find over there on HackerSploit that could be beneficial to them? A lot of my viewers are people who are just looking to get into the IT field, or maybe just looking to get into security. So what over there can specifically, help them down that track?
That's a very good question, and that's what we've been trying to structure over the last 1 or 2 years, and sort of what we do on the channel is we cover we cover everything broadly, and then we go into individual specifications within their own series. So, for example, if you're a beginner, we have a beginner playlist for that. Sort of a beginner playlist for ethical hacking, penetration testing. We have one for programming, scripting, malware analysis, and we sort of build one each into its own specification, so that students have a choice and they can find what they like, and something that they can pursue professionally. So we cover everything from ethical hacking, penetration testing, programming, malware analysis, reverse engineering. And our job is to sort of give someone who's never learned any of it or done any of it before an introduction into it, and then increase their skill level as they move along.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I watched a few of your videos there, and I mean, I love them. They're very informative. So I'm really trying to give my viewers another option or more options on resources, and especially free resources with YouTube being freely available that they can use to improve their skills, just learn more about security. So with that being said, what type of advice would you have for somebody who's just looking to get into this field? Is there anything specific that you can think of
Yeah,
that would help?
yeah,
Sorry, go ahead.
yeah, definitely. I think the first thing is that I've seen many of the students right now, and they're sort of taking it extremely quickly without assessing what they really like doing within cybersecurity, because it is a very wide industry, and there's a lot of specifications one can go for. So I would say just look around and find something that intrigues you naturally, and then get started with that. Of course, I would recommend starting off with just beginner videos, wherever you want to watch them on, and then pick up a few good books. And then once you have a sort of like a wide idea of what this is going to entail, you can then start learning it professionally, and then you can then start filling your gaps in terms of knowledge. And then I would recommend going for some certifications, and then after that you can sort of get into into the workforce.
Are there any specific certifications that you hold a lot of value in?
Yeah. So if you are in cybersecurity, one that I know isn't very popular for whatever reason is the Network Plus certification. I think that goes a long way, and myself as well as other professionals in the industry really recommend that, because it gives you a solid understanding of cybersecurity. It gives you a solid understanding of networking required in cybersecurity. So you're talking about various aspects like the OSI model, you're talking about TCP, UDP. So if you go into cybersecurity, sorry about that. If you go into cybersecurity with that in mind, then with all of that knowledge in mind, then it becomes a whole lot easier, and your level of understanding is enhanced. So I'd recommend Network Plus, and then for ethical hacking and penetration testing, of course, we have OSCP, which is the standard right now for penetration testing in terms of certifications. And then you have the CompTIA Security Plus, which is a newer certification, but it really, really is very good.
Yeah, absolutely. I interview, quite a few people in security. I was actually just at the RSA conference in San Francisco a few weeks ago, and I asked, many of the professionals in the field that same type of question, and across the board, I think everybody said networking. Networking is a skill that you must know if you're looking to get into security. And again, you're not all roles in security. You will find that 100% useful. I mean, application testing or hacking and things like that might be a little bit different, but I still think having some of those fundamentals of networking can be greatly helpful to you as well. And then, of course, Security Plus. I actually just took my Security Plus last week. I failed, unfortunately. But I'll get back up on and get it taken care of and knock it out. But yeah, that was another certification that I think everybody recommended as well. So it's great to hear everybody share those same thoughts and opinions.
Yeah, the networking goes a long way because, again, students want to sort of overlook the fundamentals of what networking, and Linux are one of them. And so if you can get over that and have what I would call a basic understanding, then the rest of it's sort of just going to be very intuitive.
Yep. And, the other thing that I heard also is that a lot of people who are, trying to get into the security field don't really have the fundamentals behind technology as a whole behind them. You see them getting pumped through these cybersecurity degree paths, right? And they're not gaining kind of the fundamentals of just behind IT in general, like things like the CompTIA's A Plus would cover, or the Network Plus. They're just getting thrown through these programs and not getting those fundamentals. I keep emphasizing that. I apologize, but that's a big deal. So a question for you would be, if you're looking to just get into security, where's a great starting path, like a great role that you could think of that somebody should get into to gain more knowledge either about IT or even security?
I personally think that one of the best jobs that one can take as a beginner to the industry is network administration or system administration, because it gives you a very, very hands-on approach to everything to avoid to sort of a wide variety of subjects that both involve Linux, networking, Windows, system management, and then of course you have to deal with physical computers, hardware, routing technology. You're dealing with all network cables, so it gives you a very, very good entrance into this field. But of course, you can start off with other roles like the help desk, which many of my peers actually started off with, and then moved on by shadowing penetration testers and starting off as a junior penetration tester.
Yep, that's great advice. I mean, I'm 100% on board with that. I always kind of recommend help desk because it's much of the same of what you kind of mentioned, is you get everything thrown at you, so you really get a good feeling of what an enterprise is like, what types of issues you'd run across. You get a good look at many of the different technologies involved in the IT field, and that can really help steer your path on which way you want to go as you're advancing your career. So, and like you said, you had some people who started off in the help desk that shadowed pen testers. That's great because, obviously in help desk, you get all these different things thrown at you, but then you're able to work with other people in your department and learn things from them that could really help define your path. So, yeah, definitely great advice there, sir. Thank you.
Yep. Yeah, that's essentially I think, in my opinion, the best way to get started. But again, it'll be different for everyone, and I can appreciate that.
Yeah. Everybody has a different experience or a different path that they've taken to get into this field, and I don't think there's ever a right path. I don't think there's ever like a 100% this is always going to work from you, because you hear people who go, to college, they get a degree, and then it could take them years to get into any type of role in IT. So it really depends. I mean, there's people who have no degrees, no certifications, no experience, but they have amazing soft skills, and they get hired into a spot just because their soft skills are, on point. So,
yeah.
Is there any other advice that you would have as far as things to learn, maybe, specifics that, besides networking, we went over that one, but anything else that really would help?
I think that there are a few topics that I've actually noticed that are going unnoticed that are extremely important in the field, and one of them, as I've mentioned only once, is Linux. And when I talk about Linux, I know it's a wide topic, but again, learning how to write Bash scripts, working with the Linux terminal, the understanding the file structure, and how the kernel works with the hardware, I think it goes a long way. But of course, if I was just to point you into one direction, I would say just learn the terminal and understand how to essentially modify files, how to interact with the file system. I think it'll be the most important. And then, of course, you can move into Linux networking, where you're working with various tools. We're working with firewalls, all that good stuff.
Yeah, definitely. One thing that I always kind of share with people is that I've worked in this field 17 years now, and it wasn't until about 2 years ago that I actually started to learn Linux, because prior to that, I'd never, in that time, 15 years of working in the field, ran across a Linux box. And people find that amazing. They're like, how is that even possible? And so, I mean, I've always worked in Windows environments, so it's just the way it is, There's a lot of environments like that. But, in the last 2 years, you've seen the surge of Linux growth. And it's
absolutely
everywhere. I mean, look at every IoT device is running, some form of Linux. And, Microsoft Azure, their servers, there's over 50% of their OSs are Linux. It's mind-blowing, really, to me. So the importance of Linux, I think, is an extremely important value or a skill that people should definitely learn. So definitely thank you for that one. That's definitely great advice. Is there anything else that maybe outside of hard IT skills that could potentially help somebody?
Well, again, it all comes into what exactly you're going to end up doing, because each of these tracks have varied skill sets that you sort of must need. So if you are looking into web application penetration testing and sort of bug bounties and stuff like that, then of course having a good understanding of the web and a bit of basic knowledge in JavaScript, PHP, MySQL, that's specifically for web application penetration testing. But again, there are many skills that I would say learn, and one of them is that I've seen a lot of people ignoring is virtualization, which also comes into play quite a bit, because many of the companies now, or many of the companies starting up right now, you have various startups. If you are going to work for a startup, the most likely scenario is you're going to have a cloud server or a cloud platform in which you're managing all of these servers. So having a good understanding of all of these platforms like AWS and Azure, as you've just mentioned, is also very, very good advice. To anyone looking to get into this, I just have to reiterate that you need to really just take it slowly and look at it realistically and as something you're going to be doing for the rest of your life. So if you go into something because of hype, or if you go into something because someone's told you that it has great potential, then I think you're getting in with a very different or a very wrong perspective. So just look at what you like, what intrigues you naturally, and then build up from there. Just start playing around with stuff, get hands-on experience with it, and then you can start going into the professional education, taking various certifications, and sort of moving up the ladder.
Yeah, no, that's great advice. The hype is real with security right now. It's out of control. And, I see a lot of people obviously come to me asking me questions about, getting into security and things like that. A lot of people don't understand how much learning is involved after the point of you maybe getting a degree, after getting certifications, or even after being in the field for a couple of years. You're constantly learning. You're constantly evolving.
Absolutely.
And learning new things. And some people are turned off by that. Some people don't want to keep doing that, and they'll just get stuck way behind, and they might not evolve their career into the six-figure salaries that they hear all about all the time with security. But what can you share about the constant learning that's involved? Being somebody who obviously enjoys what they do, you have this YouTube channel, you're sharing all this information. How do you feel specific about learning all the time?
I definitely embrace it, and so does everyone who works around me. And in IT in general, I think it's something that you have to take into consideration fully, because if you're a person who really does not like learning anything new, then you're going to get left behind in the span of about 10 years, and someone's just going to take your position, and that's that. So again, you constantly have to be evolving your skill set in accordance to what the market requires. That's the first thing. And of course, I think you should just have a general curiosity about new technology and stuff that you can just play around with. You not necessarily need to sort of master everything, but just have a good grasp of what everything is about, or everything that is important, at least, especially when talking about IT and cybersecurity in general.
Yeah, awesome. Great advice, man. I definitely appreciate you coming on and sharing your story and your experiences and the advice that you've given. In closing, is there anything else that you want to touch on, or?
As of right now, no, I've pretty much said what I think. I think this is some of the best advice that I can give right now for anyone trying to get in. And I definitely appreciate you having me on here, because again, you have a fantastic channel that is really serving a great purpose here for students and beginners getting into the industry. And I just wish everyone the best of luck with their careers, for everyone that's serious in in cybersecurity or in IT in general.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. And if people want to find more about HackerSploit, where else can they find you besides YouTube?
You can check out HackerSploit.org and HSploit.com.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you very much. I appreciate you coming on and doing this for us. And I'll be sending everybody I can over to you so they can learn more about, the wonderful world of security. Yep.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you. Have a good day.
All right. You too, man.